Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we have a brand new video, our 2026 official Star Wars movie ranking. And this is going to be a little bit different this time because I'm also going to be pre-ranking upcoming shows such as Maul Shadow Lord, Mando and Grogu, and Star Wars Starfighter, where I think that they're going to be, which is going to be interesting. So starting out, I do this every year. You guys probably know this, or at least those of you who've been watching know this. This is kind of the thing that we like to do, where every year I re-rank to show how, I'm always looking at these movies, pieces of art in different ways and how it changes every year. Like my ranking now compared to my ranking 5 years ago is very different. So yeah, let's get into this. So, S tier is reserved for George Lucas material, and everything below S tier is Disney Star Wars. Um, so that's really like the cutoff. So below S is Disney stuff, and it's ranked by um basically on Disney terms and how well I think it works as a Star Wars uh story. But starting out, we'll just get the easy stuff out of the way. We'll do George Lucas Star Wars. So at the top, Revenge of the Sith, best Star Wars thing ever made, easily. Then we have The Empire Strikes Back, and then we have Return of the Jedi. Then we have The Phantom Menace. Then we have A New Hope. Then we have Attack of the Clones. That is my official S tier ranking. Then we're gonna do the Clone Wars TV series at A, and the Clone Wars movie at A. I include them in one because really it's the same series, so that's kind of how that's gonna go. So yeah, that's Clone Wars show and Clone Wars movie both at A tier. Moving on. So Rogue One, a Star Wars story. This is where things are going to get a little more complicated when we enter the Disney realm. So Rogue One, would I say it's at Clone Wars level good? Like I don't think so. I think I'd give it a B. Yeah, I'm going to give Rogue One a B. Because the thing is, I used to put Clone Wars in S tier, but I'm like, is Clone Wars really as good as the 6 movies? And I'm like, no. So that's why it's an A now, because it's not. I don't think it's better than the 6 movies, or just as good. I don't think so at all. So yeah, Rogue One is B. I think Solo is also also gonna be B, and I know that that's pretty controversial, and a lot of people, think Solo isn't as good, and they think Rogue One is like S tier. I don't think that way at all. I think Rogue One and Solo are both really excellent standalone Star Wars movies. They don't take a lot of risks. They're pretty simple, but they have really, really, really great moments. The writing's really well done. The music's really great. The visual effects are great. So that's the standard, I'd say, for Star Wars in the Disney era is Rogue One and Solo. I don't think there's anything that's better than those two that Disney has come out with after further evaluation. I really just don't think they've even touched that. Um, but yeah, that's what I would put those at. Now, this is where we're really diving into controversy. So, the sequel trilogy, the damn sequels. You know, I'm not as, you know, I'm not as absolutely hateful towards them as I used to be. I think they have interesting, good aspects to them. But I don't think that they could reach above C. I just that's not no way. I think Force Awakens is a C for me. I think that movie is really good, and it really is a good movie. Like, you can sit back, I could sit back and I could watch that and thoroughly enjoy it. But here's the reason why I can't push it further than that. Is because it quite literally is not creative or original or anything at all. We've seen all of that before. That's why it's in C. Because I've already seen that story. And it was in A New Hope. I've seen that story already. And that's why George hated it. Because he was like, dude, it's just a rehash of what I already did. But he's like, the fans are going to like it because it's the same thing. So how would you not? Using that formula, how would you not find that to be good or interesting at all? So that's C for me. I can watch that movie and enjoy it. You guys know I'm a Kylo fan. I really like him. I'm a Poe Dameron fan as well. I like the First Order aesthetic a lot. Like, there's things, and I like the T-70 X-Wings. I think they look really good. There's things that I can enjoy. Next, Rise of Skywalker, bro. That's just terrible. That's F. I can't watch that movie. Like, I've tried to rewatch it, and I can't get past seeing Rey levitate with all the rocks, and then she's like, makes a stupid corny joke and then flips over, and then 20 minutes later it's like, somehow Palpatine returned. Like, I can't even bring myself to rewatch that shit. Like, it is so bad. Like, just genuinely it's oh my gosh, it's bad. It's just terrible, dude. It's so terrible. Next, Star Wars Rebels. Star Wars Rebels to me is also a C. I don't think it's as good as Rogue One or Solo at all. Sure, there are episodes in that show that I could say are A tier. There are those of the Twin Sons with Obi-Wan and Maul, A tier, easily. Twilight of the Apprentice with Ahsoka and Darth Vader, B tier, easily. There are some really powerful episodes in there. Jedi Knight, B tier. But to say that the whole show is there's so much filler. There's so much just nonsense, especially in season 1. And Clone Wars filler was really fun and really great. They just were really not important stories, but they helped progress the characters along. But like, I find some of the filler Clone Wars episodes to be great. Yeah, I don't think there's honestly, I don't think there really is Clone Wars filler because it's an anthology series. So I don't think there even is. But I don't know. Let's say, what would be an example of Clone Wars filler? Like that one episode with frickin' Boss Leone gets stabbed by that like evil Gungan guy, and then Anakin and Dooku duel, and then they do that prisoner trade-off. They trade Grievous for Anakin. Like, that was great. Like, that was honestly really great. Did it have an arc attached to it or anything? Like, no. But I think that story was really interesting, and it was cool, exciting, riveting. I didn't know what was going to happen, so like, that was a cool story, and it did a big thing. They captured Grievous. Like, that's huge. And then they let him go. That's where I mean it's more filler, because it doesn't really push things along. It's just there. But that was the level that Clone Wars was at. And then you go down to Rebels, and it's like their fillers, like them treating stormtroopers as a joke and then taking fruit and going on a speeder bike. Like, that's just stupid. It's slop. There's a lot of Rebels that's just slop to me that I just can't find myself to enjoy at all. Mando. Wow. I'm gonna be honest with you. Season 1 of The Mandalorian. I need to think before I say this. No. Yeah, season 1 of Mando would be B for me. Season 2 would also be B, but season 3, that's like D. That's D tier. Like that's bro. Like you can't. That was a terrible season. Mando season 3 was such a disappointment. It was genuinely abysmal. Like just genuinely abysmal. There was nothing good about that. But I'll give it the benefit of the doubt, and I'll give it B. No, nah, because it's better than Force Awakens, but it's not as good as. I'll put it at bottom of B. So Mando's at bottom of B. I think Mando is those first 2 seasons are incredible, and then after that, it's just like, the first one especially. Season 1's better than season 2. I think of Mando in terms of it as an individual series. I think that they explored a lot more of the Empire in season 1 and really explained what was going on in the galaxy without having to over explain it. And I think that whole vibe of like this layer of like grit and mystery is something I miss from the show. Because season 2 was freaking amazing. I'm not discounting it at all. But I mean, it went a lot more the like very clear, very like direct route with how it told its story compared to season 1 where it was very like in the air, up to interpretation. And I tend to like those kinds of things more, where you're not forced to look at a story one way. Like look at Revenge of the Sith, right? You could look at that movie from so many different perspectives, because it's not forcing one version of the story down your throat. Like you could interpret that so differently. I think you could interpret the entire galactic civil war differently too. I mean, you really could. You could look in the Imperial perspective and understand them. You could. You could look in the Rebel perspective. You can understand them. You could look at the centrist perspective and understand them, right? Like there's so much complexity to Star Wars. And that's what really makes it different from like superhero movies, is that like the just sheer complexity of what's going on and the complexity of the characters is just unparalleled. And that complexity makes it immersive because it makes it real. When you have a super clear good guy and a super clear bad guy, that's just not interesting. Star Wars doesn't have that. Darth Vader is not this super clear evil man. And Mace Windu isn't this super clear good guy. So like you have these two technical opponents, but they have more in common than you think. And they also have a lot in different, right? So it's like I find those kinds of like complexities to be really interesting, which the only other like franchise I've seen those kinds of complexities in is probably DC with like Batman and the Joker, or Batman and Bane, or anything like that. Any of the Batman villains I think have that same level, and the world of Gotham has that same level of complexity that Star Wars does. It's just on a much smaller scale. It's all in one city, but the ways you could look at that are so different, and it's really cool compared to like, I don't know, you look at what would be a good example of this. Like, I love Iron Man. I love that movie. It's one of my top 5 favorite movies of all time. I think it's one of the best movies ever made. Iron Man's an action movie with a really amazing story about the hero. But Obadiah Stane is he's pretty simple villain. He's a piece of shit. And there's not really an argument against that. You know what I'm saying? So like that's more of like where there's a clear good and a clear bad. Star Wars, that doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. Like that's just not a thing. And I think that's what makes Star Wars so damn riveting, is it's just so complex. Anyways, so yeah, moving on. Book of Boba Fett, that's a D. That show is bad. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's not Rise of Skywalker bad, but it's freaking bad. It is horrible. You spend half the show in a fucking flashback, and then the parts of the show that are actually like about the current times when he's out of the bacta tank, like fucking nothing happens. Nothing happened. Like literally, Cobb Vanth the Pikes come to Cobb Vanth's town. And then after that, Cad Bane comes to frickin' their town. Cad Bane slimes out Cobb Vanth and the fucking sheriff. And then he goes to the main town and he wants to take it over. And then Boba's like, no. And then they fight. And then Cad Bane just died. Like, it's so basic. Like, it's just the most lazy, shitty writing. It's just like, ugh. And then randomly, they have the 2 episodes of pretty much of The Mandalorian thrown in there that are 2 of the best episodes of that show ever. So I don't even count. When I'm talking about the Book of Boba Fett, I'm not even thinking of those episodes. Because Luke training Grogu was one of the best moments in Disney Star Wars. Frickin' Mando slicing up those frickin' dudes on that ring thing. It's not a planet. You know, in the ring. That was crazy with the Darksaber. Like, come on. Like, and the whole thing is, you know, he's back where he was in season 1. He's alone. He has no one. And he was back in his, like, vicious bounty hunter mode. And I thought that was really cool. And then he fights Paz Vizsla because he's like, that saber belongs to my family, which reminds us of Clone Wars. Like, those 2 episodes are absolutely incredible. And then they just, you know, throw it in frickin' Boba Fett, and Boba isn't even in those episodes. He's in 2 seconds of, I think, the 5th one, where he's just standing there. But, like, there was no need for those episodes to be in that show. But that was, we know now, was Kathy wanting Mando and Grogu to get back together before the 3rd season. So that right off the get-go, the 2 are together. Which is insane. Imagine we started Mando season 3 with fucking, oh my gosh, with that 5th episode in the slaughterhouse, and then Luke in Ahsoka. Like, that was monumental and generational. When Luke and Ahsoka met, that was not even met when they were together. That was crazy. That was crazy. That was like, that scene, bro. And then we had, I think that was our first Order 66 flashback too. I think it was, yeah, because there's the scene where we see Grogu and then we see all the clones and the Jedi are fighting them, and then in the 3rd season they expand on it more. That's the one thing I liked about the 3rd season, was the Kelleran Beck stuff. That was awesome, where he's on Coruscant and all the Coruscant guards troopers jump out of the gunship, and then he goes through the same place where Anakin and Obi-Wan and Zam were in. That was sick. But, like, bro, Book of Boba, it's Boba Fett's show, and they made me not care about him. Like, that's just fucked. And then they made him a good guy. They made him Mr. Soft. He's like, oh, you didn't pay me, you betrayed me. It's in the 1st episode. He's like, oh, it's fine. And he does that so much. He does that constantly. Where it's just like, oh, no. It's like Boba ain't a good guy. Like, I don't know why all of a sudden we're making Boba Fett a freaking superhero. Like, this guy ain't a superhero. Like, he's a piece of shit. He is. He's a bounty hunter who only cares about himself. He's badass. No doubt about that. And his story is complex. He comes from a traumatic ass background, but he's not a good guy. And I didn't like seeing him that way. I think that was stupid. So yeah, I'm really not a fan of that show. I think that they used those 2 Mando episodes to make that show higher in people's minds. Because if those 2 episodes weren't there, just take them out and then look at the show. That would be like F. Right? You see what I'm saying? Like it's oh my god. I'm gonna have to give that an E. Yeah, I'm gonna give Book of Boba Fett an E. That is just such a bad show. Like, just terrible. Oh god. Next we have The Acolyte. Okay. F tier. That's just as bad as 9. Freaking, I'm not getting into that. You guys know how much I hate that show. And it just, I've never hated a piece of art as much as I hated that show. Like, why was I so emotionally, I felt attacked watching that show. It felt personal. It felt like a personal attack on my being, on myself. That ain't normal. That's all I'm gonna say. Terrible show. Terrible. Horrible. Worst thing that's ever come out of Star Wars. At least The Rise of Skywalker, you have Force Ghost Luke show up for 5 seconds and actually not be an idiot. You have, I don't know, Exegol's pretty cool. You know, they ruined the lore later, but when it started out, I really liked Exegol. I thought that was a really interesting planet. Then they fucked it in the comic books. But before that, I was like, oh, this is great, actually. And, you know, Kylo's reforged helmet's pretty cool. There are some things. But the Acolyte's like what? There's that one lightsaber fight in the forest that I really liked. It's shitty choreography, but it's still cool. You just see this, at the time, we thought, oh, it's this Sith guy wiping out all these Jedi. Who doesn't want to see that? That's cool. Outside of that, dog shit. Or when Jack, what's that weird ass looking thing called Jackie Lon, when she tries to go like super power mode, he takes a piece out of his saber and goes psh, psh, psh. That was cool too. I was like, all right, that's sick. That was kind of aura. I was like, holy shit. But yeah, other than that show was, oh my god. And then in the 5 seconds they introduced that character, they ruin him. He walks out of a bath like, god damn, that fucking show. I'm done talking about it. Just done. I'm done with that shit. Ahsoka. Oh, Ahsoka show. Oh dear. What do I do with you? Such low production quality. Like, just genuinely, everything looks so freaking cheap. It just looks so cheap. It's so, like, looks so low budget, and it's not. Boba's E is I'll put Ahsoka on the scale of Rebels. Yeah, that's reasonable. They have a great 5th episode, a great 4th episode, and a great 6th episode. Outside of those 3, that show is, forget it, dude. Like, honestly, they have 3 good episodes in there that that are really solid, and the rest of that show is just like the most mid, bland chicken with no seasoning shit you'll ever see. It was just so mid. So mid, other than those 3 episodes. So, yeah, no. I don't want to see Sabine fucking push Ezra across a Star Destroyer hanger length with the Force when she's been training for 2 days. I hate that shit. I hate it. I hate that shit. Yeah. So now we're getting down to the 3 most difficult ones to rank, which is Andor, Obi-Wan, and Last Jedi. Andor, it's narrative, that's where Andor's complicated, right? Because narratively speaking as a show, Andor is a solid B, maybe even low A tier, narratively speaking. But it's a Star Wars show. And that's just not Star Wars to me. I don't think it captures the spirit of Star Wars at all. At all. It's not. Like, I just feel bad putting it that high because it's not Star Wars. Just because something says it's Star Wars doesn't make it Star Wars. It's the spirit of it that does. And it doesn't have that at all. It doesn't. It's like, it feels like an HBO gritty drama show with some stormtroopers, which is great. And you know, season 2, there's some parts in season 2 that absolutely feel like Star Wars. Like the Gorman massacre. I don't know, the stuff with Krennic in it feels like Star Wars for the most part. But I don't know, like that first scene where he has the freaking TIE Avenger, that huge prototype TIE fighter that he's stealing, that felt very much like Star Wars. But then outside of that, it's like that show ain't Star Wars. Like, it's just not. It's not. Well, no, then, okay. Well, then there's the Yavin shit. Season 2 does feel pretty Star Wars-y now that I think about it. I don't know. I'll just be nice and I'll give it a B. I'm going to give that a B. Not as good as Mando, but definitely right below that. Yeah, I'll give it a B. I'll give it... Season 2 really made that show a lot different for me. It really did. I think that was a much more Star Wars season. And I liked season 1 conceptually, but I just didn't... It's not... Season 1 really is not Star Wars. Like, really is not Star... You don't see stormtroopers till, like, the 7th episode. Like, that shit is not... There's nothing Star Wars about season 1. Season 2... I gotta give it to the Andor shows a little bit. It's pretty freaking Star Wars, I will say. Even the themes of the second season. Like, they have the Force... Yeah. See, it's just... I've rewatched episodes of that show, of the second season, but I haven't rewatched the whole thing. So it's like, I'm only thinking about the non-Star Wars... I don't know. Complex show, I will say. Very complex. I like it. You know, it's actually one of my favorite shows ever. In terms of writing, mind-blowing, incredible writing. Pacing, not gonna lie, I vibe with it. For the kind of show it is, I think the pace works. This was too fast. It's a great show. It's just not a Star Wars show. As a whole. No. Anyways, moving on. Obi-Wan Kenobi. See, this has some of the most iconic... Has one of the most iconic scenes in Star Wars history. And I don't think most would debate that. When Obi-Wan chops that helmet open, and Vader's like, you know, Obi-Wan, like, that is just one of the most, like, that you see that cracked Vader helmet everywhere now. Everywhere. It's even in the freaking light show at Disneyland, on the spires behind the Falcon, they have that flash for a second. Like, it was a really huge moment in Star Wars history, honestly, that scene. Because that was stuff that you saw in Force Unleashed. But it's nothing you'd ever expect to see in live action because it's so perfect that, like, it seems fan fiction-y, but they did it so well. And you know why? Because that scene was it from Stuart Beatty's original scripts. That was not Deborah Chow's idea. That was not Joby Harold or Andrew Stanton's idea. That was Stuart Beatty's idea. That scene was from his stuff. And that's one tiny fraction of what we would have had if they made that damn movie trilogy. You know, and it's just painful. That is one of the most painful losses of art ever. Dude, I mean, it hurts me. It hurts me to think about that. That we could have had 3 Obi-Wan movies with Commander Cody and Vader and, like, all the shit. Like, come on, man. Come on. Why? Just robbed. That's artist robbery, dude. Like, seriously. Fuck whoever canceled that. Whether it was Kathy or Disney, I don't know. Not Disney. I don't want to... Actually, yeah, I don't want to put that all on Disney. If it was Bob. If it was Bob or Kathy or someone else, whoever did that, fuck you. I hate you. And whoever decided to greenlight this pile of shit, also fuck you. I think I'll give it a D because it is better than Boba Fett. It's better than Boba Fett, thoroughly. Narratively, it is better than Boba Fett. I can't have anything with Darth Vader and Obi-Wan in it at the level of Boba Fett. Jesus Christ. Last but not least, The Last Jedi. And this is where I piss people off. This is really where I piss people off, I think. C tier. Yeah, so I changed a bit. I actually like that movie. I can watch that movie and I can enjoy it. I think that narratively speaking, again, it's like Andor. It's the same thing. Andor and The Last Jedi are very similar in this way. Narratively, The Last Jedi is so gorgeously put together that if you took the Star Wars out of it, it would have been, I think, a lot more well received than it was. But since you put it in a Star Wars context and you make the hermit old figure Luke Skywalker, that really drops it for people. And it's fair because Luke isn't that. That's not Luke. Luke would never do that. You know, that's not a Luke thing to do. To cower like that. No. And, you know, I've really dug deep on this. And they made it work for that movie. It's just the approach no one wanted and no one cares about. Well, people care. I wouldn't even dare to say no one cares about. It's the approach that absolutely should not have been taken. Because we were not done with Luke yet. We had barely been introduced to him again at the end of 7. And he deserved more time. And honestly, that's really what it is that they killed him off. They just fucking killed him off. That was bad. Because at the end there, when he did his force projection, that's where we were back. And it made that moment so much more meaningful than if he hadn't had that arc. Right? So, like, when he goes out there with the force projection thing, which is overpowered, by the way. That's crazy that he's even able to do that. And he doesn't hit anyone once. He has surpassed the level of Jedi that's even a piece of feasible, that he doesn't even have to hit anyone to win. It is pure talk, pure peace, pure harmony. He doesn't touch anyone, and he freaking wins. The resistance escapes. That's great. That is so Luke. That scene is by far extraordinarily Luke Skywalker. But then to say, oh, he dies from being tired of the Force, what are we doing, man? Like, that's not a thing. You don't run out of Force. Like, oh, Mark Hamill makes fun of this all the time. Like, it's such a stupid, dumb thing, really, that he died after that. That was ridiculous. Like, he can't just die from, oh, I used too much Force. Like, what the fuck, dude? What the fuck? They did the same thing with Leia. She died of Force overdose, too. When she reached out to Ben, she just freaking... The fuck is this? What is this Force overdose death shit? It's so dumb. So that pissed me off that he died. It pissed me off. It's a beautiful death scene, but it pissed me off because he shouldn't have died. Realistically, he shouldn't have died. Lore-wise, story-wise, like, he should not have died there. It makes zero sense. But why they had him die was to pass the torch to Rey. So it was just another way of Rey absolutely ruining Star Wars. That's basically what it means. But prior to that, the saber toss, bro. I honestly forgot. I used to have this thing. Let me see if it's still in my notes. Because I decoded this whole movie. And there was some way that they made that make kind of sense. But it doesn't make enough sense for me to just remember it, which is a bad sign. So really it doesn't. But if you hear about it from that one... Let me see. Where the fuck would that be? Where would I have put this? Last Jedi. Oh, right here. Oh yeah, here we go. Oh wait, actually this was the one thing. Yeah, okay, no, that was the one thing that ass made no sense. Okay. Yeah, so that was just stupid. But it was that's right, it was the really controversial scene where Luke ignites the saber over Ben. That's the one that I was like, was it this one or was it the next one? But yeah, this one, dumb. The scene that really blew my mind when I thought about it was this. Luke would never ignite a saber over Ben. He risked his life to save Darth Vader, who was one of the most crooked and evil people in the galaxy at the time. So Luke, blah, 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 never would have made sense, blah, 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 blah. But here's the thing, right? Here's how I kind of think about it now. And this is kind of crazy, so just listen. What is Luke's number one thing that makes him snap? The number one thing he cares about? It's not defeating the Empire. It's not beating the dark side. It's protecting his family, protecting his friends. That's his absolute number one. Absolute number one. That's what makes him snap in Jedi, and that's what drives him throughout all three movies of the original trilogy. With that said, he thought that chapter was over. The Empire's done. Now I'm just training the next generation of Jedi. Here comes this troubled kid who he knows has issues. He's kind of worried about. He's like, what the fuck's wrong with this kid? One day he goes to check on him because he's like, there's something going on here. It's kind of sketchy. I think he's involved with some kind of dark force. So what does he do? He reads his mind. And when he goes into his mind, it is so evil, it is so dark, and it is so nasty that he witnesses the death of Han Solo. It was the Force warning him of what will happen. He saw the death of Han, he saw the death of Leia, he saw the death of his friends, and he snapped. And at first he couldn't believe himself. Then the emergency emotional response kicked in. He's like, you know what? I need to defend my friends. He's going to take my friends away from me. No, you can't do this. Shit, he woke up. Ben grabs a saber. Ben, no! Luke didn't strike. Ben struck up, Luke blocked, and then Ben collapsed the house. Interesting, right? I don't know. That's that scene. I don't think there's that much of an issue with that scene. And that's the thing, is there's 3 versions of that story. There's the true version, and there's 2 other versions. There's a version from Luke, which is plain and simple. There's a version from Kylo, which made it look like Luke swung down. And then there's the true version, which Luke reveals later, which is that, you know, he explains it and whatever in that scene in the rain or whatever. But yeah, so I think that scene makes sense. I don't think there's an issue with that scene. And in fact, I think that scene is also very Luke, because it's showing that he still would do anything to keep his friends safe, and that they still are that important to him, you know, and he wasn't thinking about Kylo as being his nephew or anything. For that split second of a reaction, it's PTSD. That's what it is. It's PTSD. He had a PTSD reaction to seeing his friends under threat. And it just brought him right back to the Galactic Civil War and all the shit that happened then. Between Han being frozen and Leia being freaking taken by the Empire in 5, and then Vader wanting to turn Leia to the dark side in 6. All that shit just came back to him, and it fucked him up. And he was like, hell no. It was just an emotional reaction. It's a very human thing. And then afterwards, he fucked up. And his whole thing, his whole academy's burning. There's dead bodies all over the floor. And what? You think he's just going to go, that's unfortunate, but it ain't my fault. It's Kylo's fault. He wouldn't have done that if he didn't see Luke with his saber on over him. Because in Kylo's point of view, that looked like he was going to kill him. Because he didn't know what's going on in Luke's head. He's not reading Luke's mind. Luke was reading his mind. So, in Kylo's point of view, he was like, hell no, this guy's trying to slaughter me. And then he went on a rampage. So, it lines up, man. That scene, I think, makes a lot of sense when you think about it. Yeah. You know, the saber toss was just, again, the stupid humor that they try to implement throughout that trilogy. The MCU humor, you know, all that shit is obnoxious. But the scene with him going, oh, you know, they want the whole theater to go, ha, 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 ha. But if you're a real Star Wars fan who knows the character, you're like, Jesus Christ, he just fucking threw his father's lightsaber over his shoulder like he's nothing. Wow. But the way people have thought about that, though, is basically that he's like, at that point, his whole academy's dead, and he's just sick of himself after that. And that Luke isolated himself on the island to basically protect the galaxy. Because he felt that he was a threat. That if he made that kind of mistake, that you know, he doesn't know if, he can't make a mistake like that again because that already cost him that many lives. If he goes out there and does something like that, then it's over. That's what he was thinking. I don't think that's how post Jedi Luke would think necessarily. I think because he wasn't post Jedi Luke is not this hyper emotional dude. And that's my whole issue with 8 is like, sure, they made it make sense for that movie, but Luke's trauma response, that's fine. But his response to the trauma response was where things got really iffy. Because, he wouldn't soak and pout that long. At some point, he would have recognized, sure, he wouldn't have been perfectly mentally fine, but at some point, he would have recognized that wasn't my fault. At some point, he would have realized that. It just would have taken him a little bit, but not that long, and not Rey, because Rey is the one who gets him to go back out there. That's the issue. So it's like, I don't know. It's a weird movie, dude. They make some weird ass decisions. I've made them make sense now, but it took a lot of time and a lot of research, and I shouldn't have to do that. I should go into a movie, watch it a few times, and be able to get it. I shouldn't have to study it like it's a freaking book or whatever the fuck. Like, excavate it like it's freaking dinosaur bones. I shouldn't have to do that shit. Like, what the fuck? But, I care about Star Wars, and I care about telling what I think's the closest to the truth I can, or making things as clear as I can to people who might not understand or be as educated on, so that's why I did. But, yeah, that movie it really depends on your point of view. You could easily look at that movie without understanding Luke's essence and being fully past Jedi and being like, one of the best movies ever made. I could see that. But that since I do understand Luke's character, and since I do understand the essence of his being after Jedi, I look at that and I go, that's just a shitty downgrade from Heir to the Empire, from frickin', New Jedi Order, from frickin' all that shit. Just such a downgrade. Like, why? That's where I think it's like, sure, it makes sense, but why? The penguin that goes to the frickin' snowy mountain? That's what I feel like. I'm like, why? Why are you doing that? What's the frickin' point? What is the point? What is the point of doing that? Seriously, explain. What the fuck is the purpose of that? Because shut the fuck up. Dude, like, I don't want to hear that shit. I don't want to hear that shit. That is what I wanted to see. I didn't need a new version of... I really didn't. I really didn't need to see that version of Luke. I did not. So that's where I'm mixed. I'm very mixed on this movie now, because there's a way you could look at it where it's a beautiful story, and there's a way you could look at it that's just like, what the fuck, why? And then there's the middle. That's like, I recognize these beautiful parts and the complexity and the art of it, but also the whole time I'm just thinking of why? Because why? Rian Johnson felt like it. And he shoves that in your face constantly. Oh, because I felt like doing that because blah, 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 blah. It's like I'm all about taking risks, but that was not a risk. You knew what was going to happen by doing that, and you did it to be an asshole. You did it to make a staple on Star Wars you shat on it. It's like Star Wars is this perfect, clean thing, and then you just shit on it. That's all he did. And he's like, ha ha, I shit on Star Wars. Now you're never gonna. That's what he did. It's like, what the fuck, dude? It's like, yeah, you know, you pooped in the corner, but you still pooped. That's really what this is. It's like, god damn that fucking movie. But I can watch that from a lens and like it. And it's not, I don't want to, hopefully it doesn't seem like I'm forcing myself to like it, because I'm not. But when I put it on, I genuinely think I vibe with it. But logistically, it's like, because that Luke's different to me. I don't look at that Luke the same as normal Luke. I don't think that's the same character, but yeah, anyways. So now we're going to rank where I think the new movies are going to go. So Mando and Grogu. I think there's a fat chance this could hit the B, where it's not a super ultra creative, risk-taking story, but it feels a lot like Star Wars, has a spirit of Star Wars, and is well written. I think that's where Mando and Grogu is going to live. It feels to me a lot like the Rogue One Solo, kind of like good, really, really strong Disney Star Wars. Like, I think that's like really where that's going to stand. And I'm excited for that. I am. I may be the only one on earth excited for it, but I am. It's like, all I want at this point, dude, is just shit that is Star Wars. I don't need another Last Jedi, Acolyte, freaking Star Wars Visions. Like, I don't need this super polarizing shit. I just want Andor. Like, I just want Star Wars. I want Hoth, AT-AT, Stormtroopers, X-Wings, a Mandalorian, and freaking, I don't know, Imperial, whatever. That's just all that's what I want. That I want that. I don't care that it's simple, and we've already, like, I don't care. Simplicity is what we need right now. Not always, not forever, but for right now, I think we need simplicity to bring people back, to bring me back, because I am not jiving with them. It's very clear that I'm not jiving with what the fuck they've been doing lately. So they're doing that too in their theme parks. Galaxy's Edge, all original trilogy. They're trying to bring people back, and they're finally understanding how to do it, which is telling new stories with stuff that's already been built up, which is what they should have done since 2015, but they didn't. Instead, they told old stories with new characters, and it's like, we don't want that. We want that flipped. And all people want is more of the characters we already love. Introduce some new characters slowly, but don't make an entire project with all new characters, because no one will give a shit. I don't think that's crazy to say. For now, they could do an Andor or whatever later on when you've built the franchise or whatever, and you're like, hey, we're doing this new, crazy, super new thing. But, like, not now, bro. Like, this is a time where we need to harken back to Star Wars. So, yeah, that's Mando Grogu's B. Maul Shadow Lord is very sketchy. I'm not banking on that show being really great or really bad. That's where it's kind of weird, man. I think Maul Shadow Lord ranges from B to D. I think I don't trust them with that damn character. I don't trust it. That's the thing, is I want them to have more legacy characters, but then, like, it terrifies me whenever they do. After what they did to Boba and frickin' Luke, and like, I get scared. So, judging on the trailer, who's working on it, etc., I think it's an easy B. But simply due to the fact that it is part of Star Wars canon, and they're taking risks with the character of Maul. That's where I get scared. Because when Disney takes risks, it normally goes to shit. When everyone else takes risks, it normally blows everything away into amazing beauty. Like Oppenheimer, fucking 3-hour historical drama made almost $1 billion in the box office. Since fucking when? Since fucking when, dude? Wait, was it? Let's see. Yeah, it almost made $1 billion. That's a risk. And it freaking worked. Like I'm saying, Marty Supreme, same thing. Like, it's fucking table tennis, and it is as good as it is. When everyone else takes risks, it works. And Star Wars was founded on risk taking. The freaking movie itself was a huge risk. This was a risk. This was a risk. This was a risk. That was a huge risk. That was a huge risk. And that was a huge risk. All Star Wars was Clone Wars was a risk. Both of them. The Gennady Tartakovsky and the Filoni Clone Wars. All Star Wars was Star Tours. Star Wars was built on risks. But that's when you had creatives running. But when studio heads try to take risks, they're not really taking risks. They're gooning around and just choosing the dumber idea. That's all that is. So, I don't know, man. I'm a little concerned. So I'm going to give it like a... I don't know. I'm going to give it a range. It's from... I don't think it's going to be as bad as the Obi-Wan show. B to C. I think it's a B to C. I'm a little more on that one. Star Wars Starfighter, everything I've seen about that sounds so damn positive and really exciting. We already know there's Jedi involved. There's Force. There's a lightsaber duel they filmed. The stuff I've seen from Sean Levy looks great. Someone said that it captures the spirit, the Star Wars spirit fully, and multiple people have come to a consensus with that from what they've heard and seen of it. So I'm going to nail that at a B. I think Star Wars Starfighter could be great. That's the one that I really think could be the big one. I think Starfighter, if they really nail it, I think that could be the next big thing in Star Wars since The Mandalorian. Because The Mandalorian was a huge pop culture revelation. And I think Star Wars Starfighter could be the next. I really do. I think there's a fat chance for that. If they really have to nail it. It's like you're going down the trench. You have to turn your targeting computer off. Stop using the formulas. Stop using the calculations. And you just got to go for it. And I think that's Star Wars Starfighter. And it might hit the end of the freaking trench, or it might go down the hole. You know, and that's... or the exhaust port, you know, and I think that's really where we're at, is about to fire. So I'm nervous for that, but I think there's a chance of it being good. So anyways, that's that. That's my Star Wars ranking. So I'm going to go through S tier. We have Revenge of the Sith, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, Episode 1, Star Wars, and Episode 2. In A tier, we have the Clone Wars show and the Clone Wars movie. In B tier, we have Rogue One, Solo, The Mandalorian, Andor, Mando and Grogu. Hold on one second. My computer is being weird. Come on, buddy. Come on. Buddy, come on. There we go. And then in C tier, we have Force Awakens, Rebels, Ahsoka, Last Jedi. D tier, Obi-Wan Kenobi. E tier, Book of Boba Fett. F tier, Rise of Skywalker, and The Acolyte. And I realized the Bad Batch isn't in here for some reason, but I would give that a D tier as well. Maybe an E. I don't like that show at all. Anyways, that's it. So leave a like, subscribe, share. I will see you in the next video. I know it's been a minute, but I'm very busy, and I'm glad I'm still doing this, and I always will. So I'm always around. So I'll see you soon. Bye-bye. May the Force be with you always.